Last night we had the Las Vegas Open previews for Warhammer and for Age of Sigmar. We now know what the next 8 battle tomes are going to be. Plus, there is a spicy teaser of a brand new faction possibly coming to the game. So let's go through all the information that was revealed last night and share some of the theories about this mystery faction. So the last roadmap that we had was not so great. It basically talked about what had come out so far in 4th edition. It said that the Skaven and Stormcast Eternal Battle Tomes were coming, which we already knew. And it said that Slaves to Darkness was coming very soon as well. And then it hinted at 2025. It had this little vague description that all factions, it just said all factions in 2025, but really that's not going to happen. That would be really tough on Games Workshop's release schedule in terms of stretching things out and basically always needing to announce things. And I know that sometimes battle tomes come out, then spearheads, or sometimes at the same time, or a hero unit here, or a full battle army box here. Yes, things can be spread out, but that's exactly the reason why we're not getting all armies in 2025. But they did say that we were going to get a new destruction, actually 2 different destruction battle tomes in the Orc War Clans and the Gloomspite Gits. And so those have been already revealed. The Orc battle tomes already been reviewed and it comes out tomorrow. So that's the first of our 8 that we know are coming in the future. The one after that is going to be the Gloomspite Gits, and it's going to feature all these wolf-riding sun goblins that look absolutely incredible, and that's also already been previewed with an army box and a new battle tome, and so we know that is coming as well. So the only other hint that we had is that there was going to be a death faction coming after that. And now we know which death faction that is because the Soul Blight Gravelords were revealed yesterday with a new army box, a new spearhead, a new battle tome, lots of new sculpts, new units, new heroes, and all sorts of things that are looking pretty cool, including a new zombie dragoneth type thing that can be played with via a Regiment of Renown in any single death faction, so it can be shared around in that sense. So now we have that initial preview, that initial little like roadmap they gave us. It has been fulfilled. We know everything that was on there has been revealed. However, the preview show today did not stop there. They went further. They also told us that the Ideneth Deepkin are coming next, as well as the Night Haunt. So after everything we've talked about with the Orc, then the Gits and the Soul Blight, then we go into Ideneth, then we go into Night Haunt. Those are going to be battle tome releases. We don't know if we're getting new spearheads right away, and we don't know if we're going to get, you know, army boxes for everything, or if it's going to be smaller updates. Maybe it's just a hero. For example, with the Slaves to Darkness, they didn't really get a lot. They just got an updated hero sculpt because they already got that Dark Oath expansion in the previous edition right near the end of it. Similarly, the Orc War Clans got some faction terrain and some endless spells or manifestations because they had already received some stuff in the year prior, although I still kind of think that they need some more models. Either way, we don't know what these future releases are going to look like for the Ideneth Deepkin and the Night Haunt, but we can all hope that they're going to be generous with releases because that's just more fun and it can make them more money. Who cares if it's a lot of stuff? We all want a lot of plastic. So you might think, okay, that's actually pretty good. We've got 3 new factions previewed or at least revealed that they're coming, and that's huge. But they didn't stop there. We went even further with 3 more hints at what's coming, and they're very obvious. They're basically small black and white versions, I'll put up on screen here, of the faction packs of various factions, and we know that these 3 are coming up after on the horizon. And so the first one is going to be the Blades of Khorne. That one's obvious. Followed by the Caradron Overlords, and then finally the Flesh Eater Courts. And so that is another 3 battle tomes. So another 3 battle tomes, maybe some heroes, maybe army boxes in there. Flesh Eater Courts just got a refresh. So they're probably not getting much more than like a hero. But when we look at Khorne, great candidate to get an army box, as well as the Caradron have a very small range and deserve more models, certainly. So now we have 8 different battle tomes that are going to be coming up, you know, all the way into the summer and beyond. potentially, depending on how they stretch this all out, because they're going to alternate releases with 40k and the other game systems that they have, but also these releases themselves will get stretched out because we have an army box that launches at one point, and then slightly after, more units come out individually. The battletome comes out individually. The spearheads come out. All of these things can make up a preview week on the Warhammer community website, and each one can be hyped and promoted, and so it basically is like they're always releasing stuff. And they didn't even mention for the Soulblight Gravelords what the actual faction terrain and manifestations will look like, just that they will get them. So there's a lot of stuff that can be stretched out here. I think we've got, if not all of 2025, a very solid chunk of 2025. And so if your faction wasn't listed on this roadmap, then you're probably waiting till like fall winter 2025 and holding on some hope for that time period, or you're going to be in 2026. That's just my opinion. I'm not stating that as a fact, but that's just, this seems like a lot of stuff that can be pretty stretched out. Finally, we did get a very mysterious preview that was a lot harder to figure out, and this is the one that everybody is going crazy for. So after showing off all of these battle tomes and these little like hints that you could obviously get which faction was coming, they showed the future, and they had this kind of graphic that played and changed color, and it was kind of a silhouette of some eyes. And I'm going to put that up on the screen so you can see it, because as somebody that worked today, when I went in, I was just seeing these images everywhere, and all I could see were these images that were like mostly blue with some kind of like spooky green eyes. But when you actually watch it, like I'm showing it to you now, you'll see that this is like the smoke kind of clears, and you can see more of like a red or tan or like kind of like a more brown like skin or something behind there. And that it specifically is a big part of why I kind of agree with the general consensus that this is a teaser for Chaos Dwarves. And so for those of you that don't know, the Chaos Dwarves serve the Chaos God, or like I guess he's like a more of like a minor lord or god, Hashut. And so, or I don't know if I said that right, maybe it's Hashut, but I'm going to call him Hashut. And so he is kind of like a big bull minotaur type guy. We had some horns of Hashut miniatures in for the war bands for Warcry that they were kind of like dark Lumineth, where they had they weren't elves or anything, but they had the big bull horns and helms and heads on their helmets. And so these guys praised Hashut as well. We've had lots of mentions of this in the lore, in recent books, in the core book, all these things, things like that. There's basically like servants of Hashut that are smithing weapons and selling them to chaos people, to destruction people, to like all this kind of stuff. And also there's a zoomed in version of this picture that I'll show you, that you can see there's this like little chain hanging down and basically a little pendant or something that has the horns of Hashut, or just Hashut symbol, which is like the little bull head with the horns. So this seems pretty locked up, in my opinion, my personal opinion, that it's going to be Chaos Dwarves. I think there's been enough rumor mongering of it, but also enough actual references in like hard lore that it's a fair assumption that that's what's coming. They're also a legend army in the old world game, which means they're safe to come to Age of Sigmar, and it would be cool because Age of Sigmar has a bit of a dwarf problem, which is something I want to make a video about, where basically we have these hyper specialized dwarves. And if you're someone like me, that I joined Age of Sigmar and literally just wanted to play a dwarf army, that's all I wanted to do. And I was like, I looked online and everyone's like, Cities of Sigmar is about to get a 3rd ed battle tome, don't get dwarves now, you don't know what's going to change. Turns out they stayed, but for how long now? Because the dwarves are in the old world. And so if you wanted to play just like classical dwarves, like your Lord of the Rings dwarves or whatever, you can't play those like easily without being a little bit worried about what's going to happen to your models. And that's a whole nother topic to get into. But I think that the Caradron Overlords and the Fire Slayers are so specific that they're just straight up not capturing dwarf fans right now. So I think Chaos Dwarves, they're also in danger of being in that like super specific dwarf territory, but I hope they don't go that insane with these sculpts. I think they're going to do like a really cool job with them. I think we're going to see like lots of infantry, Lots of like bull monsters, like the bull centaurs from the old world. I hope those come, but also like artillery, because the artillery in the old world, I looked up some models before this, like there was basically copy paste artillery from the old world models to the Chaos Dwarf old world models. Hopefully we get lots of artillery with these guys too. Not like a shooting faction, I don't want that, but just like support pieces. I think that would be really cool. But maybe you think, Mysidia, you're wrong, it's not going to be Chaos Dwarves. This could be something else, and there are other rumors out there. So for example, there's a lot of people saying like, well, hold on, this could actually be the Dark Elves. This could be Malarion, who's been hanging out with all the souls that he stole back from Slaanesh. He took them to Olgu. They've been living in shadow in their own continent. Nobody knows anything about them, where they are, what cities they've built, what technology they've discovered, you know, how generally things went for them during the various ages, the age of myth, the age of chaos. And so this shadow elf, some people are calling them the Umbraneth, but apparently there's a actually in lore name for them that I can't remember. It has something to do with Olgu. You know, these guys could be coming as a new faction. I think there's a lot less lore to support that right now, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. But I do think that's something, in my opinion, that Games Workshop is probably hanging on for the next edition, if I had to take a stab at it. But again, I mean, what do I really know? Now, there's also a third possibility, and the third possibility is all the other possibilities. That this is not the Chaos Dwarves, that this is not the Umbraneth or the Shadow Elves or whatever you want to call them, that this is just something else. I kind of wonder why they would tease it this way, but if you wanted to make some wild guesses, I saw someone say like, oh, well, that actually looks like a bunch of bark, all the little lines on the blue, so maybe this is a Sylvaneth thing. I saw another person say that's clearly a Saurus face, so this is definitely a Seraphon thing. I don't think that it's a Seraphon thing, because they just like relatively recently got lots of unit refreshes, so I wouldn't bank on that. It would be crazy if this was like some sort of outside of the box new faction that nobody was talking about, but I think the really safe thing to say is that this is going to be Chaos Dwarves. But that's it for the roadmap. We know the next 8 battle tomes. We know that there is a mysterious thing on the horizon, and that is a lot of information. It means that if your faction's not upcoming, that you have a lot of time to save money, to possibly buy some units that, you know, you didn't want to buy these units because you thought, well, what if you get new units and you spent your budget? If you're like me, you budget out what you're going to spend. You don't want to, you know, go too early. This means for me that I can likely invest in those dwarves that are going to Old World. I could buy some hammerers. I could buy a Rune Lord. I could buy those for my Cities of Sigmar army, because I know that they're sticking around for, you know, most likely all of 2025, if not longer. And that feels good. That feels good to me. So I can go ahead and make those purchases. And for some of you, you know, you're going to be kind of frustrated because you've probably been in the game longer than I have. You're really itching for something new. You want something new for your battle tome. You want something new for your models. And I do sympathize with that. I am sorry that it doesn't look like you're getting anything updated soon enough. But you never know when like a big army versus army box is coming and you get a new hero or something like that gets thrown in. Hopefully you can cross your fingers that like some sort of set like that comes out for your faction as well. But otherwise, that's it for the preview. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to sign off here, but I'm really curious what you thought about the different previews, the order, what's coming up. Are you pumped for it? And also, what do you think this mystery faction is?